Those files were run by the worst scum on earth. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. By the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
3 million pages, blacked out names, heavy redactions across entire sections, photographs kept away from public view. And yet, despite all of it, the same question kept echoing everywhere. What exactly are we not being allowed to see? That question already hung in the air before Desi Lydic even began speaking. When she stepped onto the stage that night, she carried a calm, steady presence that made the audience instinctively lean forward. People expected comedy, sharp jokes, and another polished take on political chaos. What they didn't expect was for the entire atmosphere of the room to shift the moment one name entered the conversation. Spent days trying to push the Epstein discussion into the usual categories of fake, irrelevant, overblown, and not worth attention. He brushed it aside with the same confidence he uses when he wants the public to stop looking before anything fully lands. But Desi wasn't focused on noise. She was focused on sequence. And sequence becomes dangerous when public memory keeps records. She sat behind the desk, folded her notes, and said quietly, "Tonight, we're not starting with what he wants you to remember. We're starting with what he now wants you to forget."
We've seen millions of his texts and emails already, but there was one very important document we hadn't seen until now.
It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Bust out crying? No fun, not worth it.
No fun, not worth it?
The usual late-night laughter never fully arrived. Instead, a different silence settled over the room, the kind that signals something more serious is coming. Desi didn't begin with accusations. She began with contrast. A montage played behind her showing Trump minimizing questions about Epstein, brushing them off, and treating the topic like nothing more than media obsession. The clips were short, confident, and familiar. When the screen faded, Desi looked directly into the camera and said, "Interesting strategy. When a powerful man says something is too boring to examine, it usually means he's worried you'll keep examining it." A soft murmur moved through the audience before applause followed. Then Desi reached under the desk and pulled out a thin folder. No music, no theatrics, just paper. Holding it up, she said, "I'm not asking anyone to believe a rumor tonight. I'm asking them to notice a reaction." That line shifted the entire direction of the segment. She wasn't presenting a mystery to solve.
A secretive billionaire's private sex island sounds kind of intriguing. Wrong.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
This is old news. And what about this salacious scandal?
The auto pen, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about.
She was showing how the response changes whenever Epstein's name appears. The screen lit up again with public photographs, archived appearances, and widely discussed images connected to both Trump and Epstein's social circles. One image appeared, then another. Desi didn't overstate their meaning. She didn't claim they proved anything beyond what they showed. Instead, she simply said, "This isn't a problem with photographs. It's a problem with denial. Denial only works until the archive starts speaking louder than the explanation." By that point, the audience was fully engaged. Step by step, Desi laid out the pattern. First comes denial. Then comes attacking the people asking questions. Then comes the push to move on before enough time passes for the public to compare statements with timelines. She described it as a familiar political cycle. Flood the conversation, blur the timeline, attack the questioner, and hope exhaustion replaces accountability. That line earned strong applause. Then came the moment that defined the segment. Looking straight into the camera, she said, "And here's the part he can't control. The moment you say the name Epstein, the entire performance changes." She paused. The room went completely still. Then she continued, "Because suddenly this isn't about branding anymore."
Finally, Donald Trump is going to release the Epstein files. He is the only president. I've been watching Fox News for 253 hours straight, and I'm ready to Fox-plain why the Epstein files are a massive scandal that MAGA patriots everywhere must stand up and stop being interested in.
It's about proximity. It's about history. It's about what power does when the archive refuses to stay silent. No one was laughing anymore. They were listening. Desi wasn't revealing something sensational. She was revealing something structural, how one name changes the entire reaction. The denials become sharper. The tone becomes more defensive. The distractions multiply. The insults arrive faster. Suddenly the subject is labeled fake, boring, old news, and a hoax all at once. Desi explained that this is why the mention matters. Not because the word itself carries power, but because it breaks the script. Another series of clips rolled. Trump appeared confident in other controversies, loud, dismissive, fully in control of his usual rhythm. Then came moments where Epstein's name appeared. The contrast was immediate. A dodge, a scoff, visible irritation, a shift from answering to attacking the question itself. Desi froze the frame and pointed. "There," she said. "That face." Not angry because the question is unfair. Angry because the question still exists. Gasps and applause moved through the audience. By now, the segment no longer felt like comedy. It felt like a structured breakdown of a pattern many had sensed but rarely seen clearly explained. Lowering her voice, Desi said the danger wasn't only what may have happened in old photographs, old rooms, or old events. The deeper danger was what happens when powerful people learn they can survive scrutiny by convincing the public to distrust its own memory. She paused before adding, "Because if every photo is meaningless, every witness is unreliable, every question is fake, and every timeline is a witch hunt, then truth itself itself becomes something power tries to negotiate. The applause that followed felt heavier, more reflective. Leaning back slightly.
Now, usually you would expect that a batch of missing files linking the president to international sex crimes would be the main story on any network. But conservative media has found a story even more disturbing and explosive.
Desi delivered the line that would be replayed later. The Epstein mention changes everything because it reminds people there are some shadows powerful men cannot outshout. The audience erupted, but she didn't lean into it. Her tone stayed measured and controlled. She explained that the real issue wasn't whether late-night television could solve what investigators, journalists, courts, and public records are still working through. The real issue was the public's right to ask questions without being pressured into silence. She said that when powerful figures tell a country to stop asking questions, that is often exactly when citizens should pay closer attention. Not because every question proves something, but because democracy depends on people refusing to surrender curiosity to intimidation. Then she brought it back to Trump's reaction. She noted that Trump can handle many forms of political conflict. He can insult opponents, mock reporters, turn legal battles into campaign speeches, and dismiss investigations while attacking critics. But the Epstein topic creates a different kind of pressure because it cannot easily be reduced to a slogan. It comes attached to photographs, timelines, public statements, past associations, and questions that don't disappear just because they are labeled boring. Looking down at the folder again, Desi said, "That's the thing about memory. You can insult it, you can deny it, you can shout over it, but you can't make it unsee what it saw." The room fell into silence again. It was the kind of silence older viewers recognize, the moment when entertainment turns into reflection. People who have watched public controversies for years understand that the first reaction is often not explanation. It is exhaustion. Make the audience tired, make the topic feel old, make the truth feel too complicated to pursue. Desi's segment pushed directly against that strategy. She reminded the audience not to confuse exhaustion with resolution. By the end, Desi never raised her voice, never turned it into spectacle, and never claimed to solve anything live on air. Instead, she did something more powerful. She took one name, one pattern of reactions, and one archive of public memory and turned them into a mirror that could not be ignored. The audience rose in heavy applause, not excitement, but recognition. And beyond the studio, the reaction followed the same predictable path: anger, posts, denial, and attempts to shift attention back onto the messenger. But that response only reinforced the point, because once the name entered the conversation, the entire performance changed, and everyone could see it.